to
What's up, girl?
You.
Leach?
We're across the street.
Oh my God.
Tell her we're directly across the street.
Tell her, what's the address?
472 9th
472. Across the street.
Night. She probably ain't gonna find no park.
Well, she said she had leads, so.
Oh,
Can you tell her she's 6 feet
Across the
tall?
street.
And I think we are. We're live.
we are.
Yeah, of course.
Hi.
We have a hot mic. We have a hot mic. We have a hot mic. We got a hot mic. We got a hot mic. Give me a harmony.
Hey.
We got a hot mic. 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 Come on, get it. Go. Hey. We're gonna wait till April come in here with her vibrant mood
Yes.
and personality.
Hit that that coming out of you are the strength of my life. I lift
Well, we are
We
live.
live, Tonya.
I'm just saying.
Okay, this is about to be comedy.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, this is about to be comedy.
Do you know they
Well, yeah, they well,
Can you see?
she
'Cause
said
I
we
can't
live, but
see
it hasn't
nothing.
shown up. Yeah,
Oh.
the TV is a little further than normal, but we're gonna wait for Miss April to come in. I'm just waiting for this to load. But I'm sure we are live,
Yeah,
ladies.
man,
Everybody's
I'll be ready to.
Did
gotta
you
give
get
her a
mine?
t-shirt.
Because I sent it later.
no.
Her crazy.
Didn't?
I already said vibrant. Come on, Diva. Come on in here then, Diva.
Hey.
Yeah, we was waiting on April, so it's all April's fault. She was at the club across. No, I'm just kidding. She was at the club across the street.
It's April.
It's April.
Oh my
It's
God.
April.
We
It's
really
April.
are.
It's April. It's April. It's
But you know, you always gotta have a grand interest.
Of
Yes,
course.
she does.
Yes. So if you guys don't mind going to your pages and just going ahead and forward it out,
Done.
that would be
Oh.
greatly appreciated. And April, we have a cheer just for you. And so we want to say
Facebook or Instagram.
it's Church Girl Live on a Friday night. And the topic is Church Girls dealing with church hurt, right? Church girls dealing with church hurt.
Among other things.
Among other things. But that's just what
Our journey,
Our journey as
which is very unique, Sam.
I'm gonna find out just how unique your journey is today. We're gonna go around and let everybody know. Welcome this Friday night, Samantha Wise Words, and we're coming to you with some of the fabulous ladies of the Bay Area. They're in the church communities, and they wanted to share their stories. And I have a lot of questions. I know you guys have posed a lot of questions that you guys want me to ask them, and they said they're gonna be honest with you guys. Honest, because that's we got to be honest. I ain't gonna dig too deep in y'all business, but I do have some questions that I want to share. So we're gonna start off to my right and have our panelists introduce themselves and kind of tell you how long they've been in the church and how did they become a church girl. How did you become a church girl, Tonya? So we're gonna start to my my right. Yes.
So my name is Doris Bumpus, and I have been in church all my life. I'm a native of Michigan. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, but my parents, we were in Grand Rapids, and so my dad, being a pastor, he was there, and then he was called to a church out here in California in 1987. So that's when we moved out here from Michigan, and so I've been in church all my life, and that's kind of it, I guess. And
That's a lot. Don't say that's it. That's a lot. So, Sister Michelle.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Peters, and I own a brand called Church Girl, which is a boutique clothing line, and it is also a nonprofit that is about intergenerational women coming together as a collective. It's an honor show. It's a passion project of mine, but I started off as a t-shirt. As my profession, I am a communication specialist for the City and County of San Francisco, and I have been in church my entire life since I was 6 weeks old.
Ooh. Go ahead, Sister Pam.
Hi there. My name is Pamela Redeaux, and I am the daughter of the late Dr. I.J. Redeaux Sr. And I've been in church all my life too. I was born in Hammond, Louisiana, raised in Oakland, California. And I have one son. I am a mother, yes. And I have siblings, wonderful brothers and sisters. And I've been in church all my life, and I love church. And I'm here. I'm a PK kid.
Hello. My name is Tonya, and I too have been in church as far as I can remember. So that's been all my life. I am the daughter of the late Bishop George L. Anderson of Humanity Baptist Church. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and I'm here ready to share.
Okay. And we got the late bird, Miss April.
Look, I live in the mood to say, y'all give me some grace. Thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. Just got off the freeway. But I'm glad to be here. My name is April Hall Ellison Lampkin. Yes, I've been married twice. That's a different podcast.
Yes.
But I am the daughter of the late Reverend Willie J. Hall of Oakland, California. He was the pastor of Grace Baptist Church. I too am a mother of 3 young folks. Actually, they are now 25, 26, and 27.
Girl.
And I also have a grand princess who is 7 years old.
Okay.
Going on 16,
Whole family.
Jesus. And the way that I became a church girl is I've been in church all my life. But my sister cousin, Michelle Peters, started this brand, and I was one of the early models, the early adopters. And I've been wearing her apparel ever since, but I really love her brand of church girl because it really embodies all that a church girl is. We're a little sassy, we're a little silly, but we love God, and church is in us. We are the church. I ain't gonna start preaching, but we are the church.
Yes.
You're looking at it right here. So I'm just glad to have the opportunity to be here with all these lovely ladies, and we are fellow PKs, have the same pains, same experiences. So I'm excited to be here.
So before we get into what we're here for, I just want to get you guys' view on the Kirk Franklin thing. And that because you know what? That goes along with the stuff that comes along with some of the stuff that you guys probably experienced too, like the prejudgment that
Absolutely.
it's okay for this man to check his kid. I thought. And because he said a cuss word, that makes him wrong. I'm just saying. So I just want to get you guys to take. I know how I feel. I'm just like, wherever my kids disrespect me at whatever age they disrespect me at, they gonna get it. That's just me. I don't know, April. You got big boys.
Oh, yeah, I got big boys. I have to get on chair. They're 6'8" and 6'9". They tall. But my feeling is that I think that as PKs, sometimes we get criticized or judged as though we're not real people. We're people too.
Yeah.
We saved by grace, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And you might catch April on the wrong day, and I might have a few things to say, but that doesn't mean I don't love you and I don't love the Lord. So I think that Kirk, he had enough. He had a few.
You heard it. He was like, he was ready to stomp. He was about to definitely get it. Yeah.
I think was wrong and disrespectful for his son
to put it out there.
Put that out there.
Right.
He's trying to ruin his witness. And so Kirk he probably shouldn't have used those words. We do a lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't do, but it's just with the intent to expose someone. I don't think that that's right.
Right. But what about you? Because you got a son too.
Oh, wow. Well, I have to check my son. I do. Basically, I don't.
You're a single mother.
Yes, single mother and checking my son. And that's why I wish my dad was still here, because he would keep all of us in line.
Right.
There are times when I have to use some choice words, but I try not to.
Yeah.
I talk to him in a way where he understands.
But sometimes they don't feel it unless you got that.
He tried to talk.
You got to go
He
all
tried-
the way in.
He tries to buck up, but then I'll be like, you know what I'd use with him? Pawpaw.
Okay.
I use Pawpaw. I say, if Pawpaw was here, would you be acting like that? And he'd be like, no, Ma.
Yeah.
No, but other than that, I can just say some words to him,
Yeah.
and they don't have to be cursing words, but he know
When you
'cause-
serious.
Yeah, he know when I'm
Yes.
serious. Yes.
Right. So,
Can I say something about it?
what you want to say, girl?
My take is a little different from all of the other ladies, and I want to think of it kind of more on a professional level because I am a communication specialist and I deal with publicists, / publicists. First of all, I thought it was ill intent definitely for him to record his father, but I also feel that there was some deep-seated
It's
issues
something else.
Yeah,
It's something else.
right.
We know
with
that.
that.
Absolutely.
And when someone, and I really believe that he's suffering from mental illness. Please forgive me if I'm insulting anyone. Just in my experience, I think that he's suffering from mental illness.
It's something deep.
I don't think it was no surprise. And if your son is suffering from mental illness, it later came out that they record all their conversations because they have such a volatile relationship. If I would advise Kirk Franklin, because I don't know who his publicist, maybe the church secretary. But, I mean, I would have told him,
Wow.
don't say nothing.
Right.
Be quiet. That's you. You cuss out your son. When you say something, you put legs on it. And now you see, since then, 4 audios, videos have come out, and even some things that I know he didn't want. When you're dealing with someone with mental illness, they may say anything.
Right.
So somebody should have advised him a little bit more wisely.
Right. I
Good.
100% agree with you because as a parent, you still have the responsibility you are the parent. And when the child, because I've had the same kind of situation with my daughter, who is now 30, she's 31 years old. And we had a situation where, that happened. And I was so angry. I was literally out of myself. But I remember my husband telling me,
she said it's
if
blurry.
you hit her, you're going to go to jail.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I just kept playing that over in my mind. If you do too much, you're gonna reap the consequences. So I was still, even though I was angry, I still was conscious. And so I do agree that Kurt, he does have some responsibility in this as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you guys, 1 second. I'm being told that our session is really blurry. So give us a moment. We're gonna shut off and then come back in with a new Wi-Fi. So sorry, we apologize about that. But give us 2 minutes. We finna come back out and come. That's the devil.
That's the devil.
We got church.
That's the devil. So we're gonna shut off and then come back on. So give us a second, please.
It's just a commercial.
Just don't talk.
break.
Yeah, because it's y'all want to sing?
What
But they ain't gonna be able to hear.
sing?
They can't do it.
Are you?
Did you bring home?
girl. So I am old.
57.
No, really?
Oh,
Oh, huh?
wow.
Well, we don't see it on here. Okay, ladies. It looks like we're back. Look like so you can turn your phone down. If y'all can turn your Wi-Fi off. So we got, you know what? If you could turn your Wi-Fi off. So I'm just gonna blame this on.
Don't blame it on me.
I ain't gonna blame it on you.
Okay.
Because, you know, we had to take a break, y'all, because of the Wi-Fi issue. We got a lot of divas in here, and that drained a lot of. It's a lot of energy.
We like Beyonce, we breaking the internet.
Right, exactly. Okay, ladies. Church girls, church hurt. What does that mean? What kind of hurt have you experienced growing up in the church? I know there's a huge expectation on you ladies to be perfect, with your dads being the lead of the church. I've always thought, can I be honest? Sure. I thought y'all was little spoiled little ladies. Privileged. I would say privileged. Because people, you know, when people are leaders in the church, people tend to flock to them and bow down to them and do certain things for them that they wouldn't normally do for regular church people. And I know, you know, I expected the church preachers' kids to be above board. And as you start to get into church, you got to see that we all the same. You know, there is nobody, no one better than the other person. And so having that stigma or having that expectations on you guys, how did you guys stay rooted and grounded? And how did you handle, Doris, I'm gonna start with you. How did you handle that situation? First, because you on my right. To the right. That's right.
To the
Yeah.
left, to the left.
So, thank you. So for me, and let me just kind of back up a little bit when I first gave my introduction. So my dad, he was a pastor at Our Bethel Baptist Church in Oakland, Pastor Hudson, J.L. Hudson. And I was an only child. And so for me, one of the things that I dealt with, and I can't even say that it was church hurt per se, but it was like an embarrassment because I was one that, I got pregnant. And
How old were you?
I was 20.
Okay.
So I had my daughter at 21, and I actually had left when we moved out here. I left and went to LA, and I was going to school out there and got pregnant. And my mom was like, "Come home." And I was really embarrassed, and I was ashamed. And literally, I didn't really announce it until later on in the pregnancy. But the one thing that I can say that did happen out of that situation was, because my dad's real strict, which was why I had left home, is that whole situation, it's like a change came over him and our family. And it's like, when I came back, he told the church, he announced it that my daughter is pregnant, and all of us have made mistakes. And, he's kind of one of those persons that's like, hey, if y'all got something to say, come say it to me. And it was at that point where my dad really, to me, for the first time, really stood up for me and was like, look, this is my daughter. Yes, she makes a mistake, and, we're going to support her, and blah, blah, blah. And that situation, it turned out to, be okay. People were talking, but I didn't really have to absorb it that much because my dad was the buffer. So, so there are some church hurt situations, but that particular situation, I would say for me, it came out to be.
So you were protected.
I was protected.
Your dad protected you.
Yeah.
And do you think because that unwavering love he had for you, it came into acceptance for him? Like, I know I've done everything I could for my daughter, and now I can understand why it could happen to somebody else. I think a lot of times we don't go through stuff, and so we're not as compassionate for somebody who has gone through it. So just say somebody's son robbed something, and I'd be like, my son, but I can't judge. And then my son turn around and do the same thing, and I can see why this mother did X, Y, Z, because now I'm experiencing. Do you think that's what kind of broke it with your dad?
He had my daughter's godmother in the church. She she had been at that church before we even got there, and she was very close with my dad at the time, and so she had a lot to do with encouraging him and, you know, letting him know that, you know, hey, this kind of thing happens. Because I think it was more about my dad. He just, I mean, if you know him, it's like no one's going to just come to him.
We know your daddy.
We know him.
So it was like, how don't nobody say anything, but I think it was just a turning point in our relationship. And he never brought women down at the church and, you know, embarrassed them or anything like that. He wasn't that type of person anyway. So I think it was more just, we all have sinned and fallen short.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So, you know, my daughter's fallen short, and we're still gonna love her and this baby.
Absolutely.
And
Support her.
we will support her.
Yes.
Amen.
My
Thank
story is very, very similar to that.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yes, I got, my dad was actually called to the ministry in 1981. And so I was about 15 or 16 years old at that time. And this was new. I mean, my dad had a life before becoming a pastor. I wasn't born into my father being a minister.
When you say that, when you say you wasn't born, so was he out like in the street?
Yes, he
So-
was.
I mean, I want to know, was
Right.
he like drinking cigarettes, you know, smoking and drinking and?
My dad was out in the street.
Okay,
He was in,
okay.
he was in the world.
Honest, okay.
So he came out of that. But I said all that to say, shortly after he was called to the ministry, and I was still in high school, and I got pregnant. So I went through high school, my senior year, pregnant, carrying a child, and my child was born in 1983, which is when also the year I graduated from high school. So the embarrassment, like that was stated, was like, wow, you know, my dad is now called into the ministry, and here I am pregnant at 17. You know, how are we going to be looked at now as a family, as the first family? You know, although he was not pastoring yet, he was a minister in the church. So we still stood out, you know. So it was, but again, people talk, nothing you can really do about that. My dad has always been my covering, always, from as long as I've been here until the day he departed this life, has been my covering and my protector. So I'm not going to talk too much more on him because I will get a bit emotional.
It's okay. So what about you, Pam? I mean, I know your family personally, like the whole family. So I kind of know some of your story, but I don't know what your challenges were coming up. I just know we just looked at y'all. You know, your dad was, you know, because, you know, when you're in the pulpit and we're like the audience. So your life is kind of like on display, but we don't know everything that kind of go on. You guys are up there, and it's like
And singing
people
and all that.
singing and carrying on, and you know, but we don't know about you with just being regular people, the dating thing. And then I'm sure some of the deacon people at church try to like with y'all, and the drummer and the preacher and the organist. I mean, I'm just saying.
And the preacher.
But I mean, but that's hard because you guys are living your life in the church. But that doesn't mean that, you know, stuff don't come across.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, both of you guys were pregnant young, which means stuff came across. You know, and you know, as I said, I know your family personally, but what did you endure yourself, you know, with your dad? And he wasn't no joke. Your daddy wasn't he was a big chocolate man too. You know.
No. I can't say that church hurt, but I could say I experienced people's personalities. They change. And I noticed that when my father did pass away.
Okay.
And he was a lovable man. People thought he was stern and hard, but at home he was just a little teddy bear. You know, we could get that out of him. But when he in the public eye, he had to be who he was, Pastor Dr. I.J. Redeaux. But it was kind of hard. That we experienced, it wasn't hard, but we experienced some things. I experienced some things with just people, you sitting in the choir stand and people talking about your father right behind your
Oh,
head.
yeah.
And I'm like, you
That's
got the
her.
nerves.
Yeah.
And you be wanting to say something so
So
bad.
bad.
But then my dad always taught us that, we just don't say anything, just let me know what's going on. But
That
a
was
lot of times
That was not
it was really hard.
And
And
then
then
talk about my daddy.
talking back to him, making gestures, and we hear all that. And then my mom experienced this thing where she would sit in the front because she was his support system, 100. And this lady would take her cane and just hit her ankles.
Really?
Yes, really. And I literally feel now that's why her legs.
That lady, that's disability now. Because I was working at the time.
She would hit and she would literally hit her leg or ankles with her cane just to walk by her. And my mother finally told my dad that, and he was like, he took care of it, but it was little bitty stuff that, yeah. And I have a sister, and everybody pretty much knows who she is, Shayna. If she would have known that at that time, Shayna, she would have devoted her. Yeah, so certain things we just cannot tell. We couldn't say. And like if we have meetings at the church, y'all know about this. You can't. My dad didn't want us at the meeting.
At the business
meeting.
Meeting.
Why?
It could get
Wait, church people will have a knife and a gun?
Some of them do.
Church meeting? Are we talking about financial meeting or like where my money went?
No, I don't. It could have been any kind of meeting. Just people. I'm just saying.
To the business meetings.
Yeah, my dad didn't want us. Yeah, he didn't want us to involve because actually, when we got to that church, Mount Carmel, we got there in '85. Yeah, in '85, and he was there until 2006, and it's just little things that people do to you, and you can't say anything. It's that's church hurt to me, where you can't say nothing to them, but
because of the title,
and then you have to be like, I don't want to burden my father with all this stuff, choir rehearsal or usher board. People talking stupid. He don't need all that because he got enough to deal with trying to teach and preach us.
Right.
So it's just that a lot of things you have to hold in and a lot of things you want to say. And I wouldn't say I would say it now, but I know you ain't going to come at me now funny. Right. So that's you ain't going to come at me now funny. I ain't finna curse you out, but I'm just going to tell you I ain't feeling you or whatever, But right now I don't really have that problem. I'm at a good church now, but I don't have that problem. But I'm pretty sure that they gonna have experience. The pastor where I'm at now, his children, he have children too. And not only that, after my that dad passed, it got even worse. People were like, they come and they go, and it's like, and people really showed who they true colors, who they really were,
true color, because you're no longer the lead in the church. So now you get treated like the regular people.
But we all are regular people.
But when you're the lead, when I say regular, I mean the people that are not in the pulpit. You get treated because you guys are like royalty in the church. That's how I look at it. So no, but we were. Is that a misconception?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I didn't feel royal at all.
No,
you didn't.
Because we could. I mean, like
you can't do nothing.
You can't say nothing.
Yeah,
you can't say nothing.
Really, like for me, I couldn't even really hang out with the other kids, and it was for me. Honestly, it was lonely. So you talk about.
So that you were isolated.
Right. Yeah. So you had being an only child. Because everything you got, during those times, everything going in the house, stay in the house.
Right.
So you only had your close family, but like the friends at the church, I mean, you could only do so much. So it was lonely.
And you can't do too much with the friends at the church, so-called friends at the church, because they go tell your business. If you get out of pocket with anybody, they gonna go run and tell somebody.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you guys, and I feel bad because I didn't experience that in my dad's church. So, I'm not an only child. I have two brothers, Derek Hall and Vernon Hall. Hey, y'all, shout out. They tall too. But so my dad was a musician, so that's how we were into the church, because we was at every musical. I mean, we were sleeping on the pews, sleeping in the car. You know, it was a musical. We were there, or we were at our grandparents' house, and then he got called into the ministry, and we went right in. And, you know, we were the church. Derek played the drums. I was an usher, burning. You know, my mama was singing. I mean, we were the church, and then the church grew. But we were a family, so everybody was auntie, everybody was uncle. We had a really good relationship with our church members. They were really our family. They became our family. And even today, when we get together, it's just one big family reunion. But what I did experience is that sometimes some people, not all, can put unrealistic expectations on you. And it's just pressure. And I feel that my parents felt that pressure because they were very strict. I remember we had the 45s and you had to put the little things on the and I was playing Tina Marie, girl, and we was jamming too. And then my daddy came home and we heard the church it up and stuff. It was square biz, you know. It was like we was jamming. He came in and he said, "What is this?" And we had to make up a story and be like, no, and I was like blaming Derek, he's blaming me. And then one time my daddy took all my cassette tapes. I'm dating myself. Yes, I did, because I had Lionel Richie.
Brother,
and I had worked real hard at Macy's to go get that tape. And I came home and my dad had took all that worldly music out and threw it away. So that's the kind of, I don't know if that was ChurchHurt, but he was strict.
It sure hurt you.
It hurt you.
And to bring it even, you know my kids, they all have Swahili and they also have Muslim names. And so it was even to the point where, sometimes your parents, or at least my parents, they thought what the other people thought. Like, oh, if I had got pregnant, I don't know, girl, I don't know what they would have done. Right. But I didn't. I was married.
You married very young too.
Yes, I married very young because I didn't want, go and get into that thing. But when I named my daughter, and her name is Malika, and it's Swahili, but it also has a Muslim meaning. And I shared that with my mother. And so I guess my dad has said, well, you can't have no Muslim name. We Christians. And my then husband was like, he was about to have some words, but I had to nicely say, that's her name. And if you can't call her that, you can't call her that.
Right.
So, it was all because they were just thinking, what people going to think because she has a Muslim name. So those are the type of things that I sometimes experience, but none of the people were wonderful. We were blessed to have a wonderful church family. And even today, that church still embraces us as the children of that house. So I'm very blessed.
Well, I'm glad you had a wonderful experience. And I think overall everybody really did. But life is not perfect, and so even in the church, it's not a perfect place.
Right.
We're all there. It's like a hospital. We're all there for a reason.
Every one of
even
us.
If we're the doctor, there's sometimes we're gonna get sick too, or we're gonna be affected by something too. So Michelle, you haven't had a chance. I know you were the bookkeeper, you were the tambourine cleaner, you cooked the dinner, the choir director, you was assistant, the decorator, the marketing manager, you got the t-shirt lady. I gotta go call my mama here, But hold on, we gotta get a shout out to my auntie August.
Hey, August.
She wants you to, what she wants you to sing.
I won't complain.
Yep, exactly what she said. Y'all always say hi to Auntie August, girl. But we're gonna go through the comments later. But Michelle, you had the key. You was opening up the church in the morning.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me what that looked like.
My parents groomed me to be a leader very early. And if you're a pastor's daughter and you're a leader, you're going to experience church hurt. You're going to be afflicted by hurt, but you are also going to inflict hurt. And so I'm gonna recognize that. And I was a very verbose. Yes. And I'm verbose.
Yeah, you still is.
And I'm a little bossy.
Yeah, little. Look, we all did like that. What? What's Friday, huh?
So I know that I was a leader at a very young age. I was directing the adult choir at my grandfather's church at 12.
Yep. 13,
and then
13, yep.
My father branched out and he started a church, Victory Baptist Church. My dad is Reverend Joel R. Peters. And then later I became the youth director of like 50 youth. And I was still in my 20s. And so, you know, in my late 20s, so I was dealing with a bunch of baby kids. They was bad. You know, they were in high school and they were bad. You know, but they were the most talented, energetic group of people I've ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. But it got me thinking, what am I going to do with these kids? Because, you know, their safe space is home. Y'all all knew the click. Their safe space is here. So that means I got to do something with them. So I was forced.
That's why they was coming.
Yeah.
I was forced to do that at a very young age. To me, it affected my relationship, my personal relationship with men, because I was always dealing with you know, the young adults, the youth. I didn't really, you know, have time to really nourish a relationship. So I inflicted hurt. I'm sure, you know, hey, click, if I hurt y'all and got y'all at the party and
telling you right now,
she's pulling you and all of, you know, I pushed you to the point where, you know, you felt like I pushed you too much. Let me apologize right now, but y'all professionals, y'all making six figures now, y'all mothers, y'all fathers, professional athletes, professional actors, you know, they doing their thing. And that's because we invested so much. I invested my life so much into them. And the hurting part, let me tell you the hurting part.
Come on, get to the hurting part.
The hurting part was that I wanted it to carry on from one generation to the next generation to the next, and them invest in the next generation. But that didn't happen. And so that was hurtful to me, because I'm like, what we go do to the next? Because I'm old now. I can't do this again.
I know that's right.
So with so much being invested into the church, you just said that you invested, and that's where we're gonna go with this, right?
Wow.
A bride, I mean, you bridegroom. I mean, so you didn't get, you invested so much into the kids, opening up the church,
My ministry,
the ministry. God doesn't want us to be alone, you know. What I know you've dated, and there's some names that's attached to you.
Stop it.
I'm just saying there. I mean, but you said some of it could be true and it could not be true. People was
Probably not.
They was throwing stuff out there.
Yeah.
But because you couldn't invest in your relationship,
Right.
How does that make you feel? And why didn't you invest more into your relationship to say, hey, I want to love him. I want to love him. And how do you know if it was the relationship? You know how they said, you know, Boaz. How did you know that was
Boaz.
right? I mean, because a lot of time we could walk past our Boaz and get what we get. So,
child, he was no Boaz.
I'm just saying.
He was more like a jackass at that time. And so they probably saved me. Okay. Because
I just want to know.
Yeah. No, he was not the one. That one where I was kind of seriously, you know, thinking about being married and all of that stuff. He was not the one.
So did you have boyfriends?
Yeah.
And your daddy approved of these boyfriends?
He didn't approve of that one, but yeah, kind of.
So you see what I'm trying to get to?
Right.
Y'all had to date. Did y'all like the bad boys?
Yeah,
I was a bad boy girl.
So you like, so the bad boys didn't always come to church.
No.
Did you get the church bad boy?
In
No,
my,
The drummer.
No.
in my experience of dating a bad boy, I did a lot of things that I choose not to share, and I probably would get a whooping today for it.
Because we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Instagram.
Right.
Thank
We
God.
didn't have all of
Thank
that
God.
stuff.
Instagram, I'll be.
I would be in trouble. Girl, I would be in
Like I
trouble
said,
too.
I'm the oldest of 5, and my brothers that are between me and my baby sister, we all have been out there and done some things. Now, myself, the oldest, my baby sister, the youngest. We always, when we would just all be together and having conversations, my brothers, Oh, they would blurt out everything that they used to do when they were coming up. Oh, I did this. Oh, yeah, we did this, man. We did. Me and my sister, we sitting there.
We ain't saying nothing.
We ain't saying nothing.
Right.
You know, because as the girls, we were more sheltered than the boys. So they had more freedom to get out and do things. In my situation, as being the oldest, you know, I had to say, hey, I'm going to be over my friend's house.
Right.
You know,
we all
and I'm out in Timbuktu somewhere. Parents had no idea where I was. Anything could have happened, you know, so I'm thankful for God's covering even through those experiences of being sneaky and being in places that you know you don't belong. So that was my experience. And then my little sister, it got to the point where I had to take her with me everywhere I go. I had to take my little sister, and I was like, you better not say nothing, because you know you got to come with me every time. You know, so it's just those things that being a pastor or preacher's kid that you just can't really put out there, you know, unless somebody
lies. But see, here's the thing: we did some wrong.
We did some wrong.
Of course. We are flesh.
Still do.
But we never tried to embarrass our fathers. We were protectors of our fathers. And this millennial, the new church girls, they don't care. They really don't. And I really wish that, you know, through Church Girl, the next Church Girl I have, you know, I really want to try to reach out to the millennial church girls to just give them the importance of really not doing so much in public.
Well, I'm dealing with some of the millennials right here in my boot camp, and one of them texted me today and was telling me that, you know, she don't go to church anymore because of the judgment, because of the expectation. And I'd rather, you know, bring them in and nurture them versus saying what not to do, because at some point God is going to remove those things that they're not supposed to do from them eventually. And so, but no, I'm not saying. But I'm not on social media. You know, but it'll gradually. You'll start. God will deal with it from your inside. He's gonna tell you when you're gonna get that feeling like maybe I shouldn't. Because sometimes if I have a cocktail and I go live, then I'd be like, oh, is that the person that I want? Hey, you know? And then I'll just take it. So the God will deal with your conscience. Or if I'm dealing with somebody, we're having a debate, a spirited debate. And then the Holy Spirit will catch me and be like, don't you dare.
Don't argue.
Don't you dare. And so I think with the kids, he will gradually refine them to the point where they don't have to go to social media or whatever they're doing. They'll be more selective about what they're putting out and how they're putting themselves out there, and about being promiscuous. They're gonna be more selective about who they let mess with them.
That's true.
You know,
I'm just specifically speaking about pastors' daughters.
I think what's important also is that, because we have to, one of the challenges that I'm seeing in the church, and this is one of my challenges, is churches are not progressing with the time.
No, they're not. No.
Knocked a lot of churches off their rock because they weren't they weren't technically savvy. They didn't know that we don't want no Facebook. They don't have a website. I mean, they were just behind the times, and many of them were running trying to catch up. So one of the things that has to happen, we have to be more progressive in these churches to get the millennials, because you can't just say any and everything to them. You can't just live any way you want to live. They Googling what you say.
Everything.
As you say it.
And the minute you mess up, they be like, he ain't all what he said to be.
And I think it is our responsibility, and this is something that I've been talking a lot to my husband about, is we need to be as transparent as we can, because I know that's a very slippery slope, but educate people, because it is a lot of things that folks are struggling with. We all have struggled with that. We don't want to tell the business, the secrets and all that kind of stuff, but we all have struggled. Our homes weren't that happy. Okay, a lot of us went through a lot of things, like you said, you mentioned the pregnancy. Okay, well, what is that about? Why were you away from home? Why did you go get pregnant?
Where were you? How did that happen?
So you know that there is things that I didn't know, and so it's like at this point we need to stop.
Come on.
Being I don't know what the word, so secretive and whatever. We just need to be honest,
yes,
and let people know that, hey, the struggle is real. We need to start dealing with mental illness in our church. They have childhood trauma that they're dealing with, and it's just like all of that stuff. It starts from the pulpit all the way back to the earth, because a lot of this church hurt that people talk about. They get hurt in the church because people in there dealing with trauma. They don't know how to communicate.
Right.
They don't know how to talk. So you flipping off at the mouth. You don't know how to, deal with people because you got issues back here.
Yourself.
With yourself. And so I just really, this mental health and all that stuff is just a really hot topic for me right now.
Right.
So I really feel like when it comes to our young people, we are going to have to change
the way we handle it.
It's an approach.
There it is.
There's an approach.
I wanted to say something in reference to that because, like I said, my dad was very, very strict, to the point where I couldn't even be a cheerleader. So Sam, we cheer moms.
We came up our own.
We cheer moms, and so I kind of found myself overcompensating with my kids because I wanted them to experience. Because I had two
full
brothers,
life.
and it's like I was held to a different standard than they were.
Right.
I mean, that's not to say, every day after school we had to go to the church, go clean up, then do our homework while Derek was in there playing the organ and practicing and stuff. But we wasn't out there just running the streets. I couldn't go to cheer practice. I couldn't, I could barely run track. I had to beg them for that. I couldn't even go to Jamaica with the Castlear. Shout out to Castlemont. Hey, Castlear.
She good for them shout outs.
Because they did show tunes, and it's like, because I was the choir director. You can't be the choir director and singing Who's on the A Train, and I just couldn't. That's the hurt that I experienced just from being a PK, just the standard that I was held to. And so I found myself with my children trying to do things to make them inclusive and not make them turn away from church, make them, feel comfortable going to church, loving God, watching my life, watching me
be an example,
involved, and be an example, and having them want to go to church. And so again, I'm at a wonderful church now where my kids drew me. They were like, Mom, you have got to go to this church. And I'm like, if there's any church that my kids are,
I want to go see.
Right.
You know what? And just to kind of piggyback off, that's how I came to Acts. Because my son, like at 8, he became, he likes to sing. And so they had the, children's church back there. And he was like, I want to go to church again. I'm like, again. And so, because he was going with my grandmother. He said my grandmother would always fall asleep in church. But she would buy him chicken and a piece of cake. So he would go with her to church. But he just seemed so much more active with Acts. And so because he wanted to go, I was like, I ain't letting my baby go to church. And I ain't there. Because the church that I grew up in was Shiloh Temple. And that's the church where Robin Hodge and Williams went to. And so my church upbringing was a good one. I had a good one. We was musicals. We was with Elder Hodge from morning to night. He would buy his shoes when we were lacking. We would be at their house up in Trestle Glen. My church life was good. And then I think I got grown. I got grown, and then something took me away from the church, or he moved. I think he moved to Texas. I think he moved back south. And I never found a church until I found Acts, and it was so similar to how I was raised. And then my son was active, and then that made me be, more active or in the church with the kids, so on and so forth. So my church upbringing was good. So what I want to go to you guys now, we said about being in the church. Can
I just shout out my church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, Pastor Reynolds? Hey, shout out to my church. Okay, go ahead.
She might have just gone and get a sign and put it. Give her something on the thing. So these churches that we started off with, is anyone still with their same church? Just raise your hand. No. So the churches, because your dads are no longer pastoring. Your dad passed away. Your dad passed away.
My dad passed away.
And my dad retired.
I married the musician, so we.
You married the organist.
My dad hired the musician and I married him. So we stayed there for a while, but then my husband went to another church. So that's how I ended up leaving my dad's church.
Okay. And then
My dad passed
Okay,
away,
so
but he had stopped pastoring, retired, and he had gone progressive, and so that's where he was when he
okay.
passed.
So we all about 40 years old at this table. So what advice would you give in these day and times? What advice would you give a PK growing up in the church today? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I'm going to start off by, I'm going to also piggyback a little bit back on when I was talking about, we were talking about the ChurchHurt, but after he passed away, I didn't want to go to church anymore.
Yeah.
So my advice to anyone besides a PK kids, if you lose a loved one in church or wherever, you seek God and he'll guide you through the Holy Spirit will tell you where you need to go. If you don't want to stay there and you're not comfortable, I wasn't comfortable there anymore. I just felt every time I would go there, I would look for my dad to come down. I just didn't feel it anymore. So I ended up, and I stayed out of church for a while too, for a long time.
I think that happens with trauma.
And I was,
and that becomes from that mental thing that you,
I'm not
early, but not that, no, it comes from, it's our mentality.
Yeah, my mentality on that was just that I was looking for that same preaching, teaching, type of thing. And I knew that when he was gone, first we had to adjust to it because the way he went, he just left us. He wasn't sick. He wasn't diagnosed with anything. He went for a walk and we got a call that he was rushed to the hospital and he died. So we're still trying to figure that out. So that could be partially mental, figuring out, but God seen us through it and he helped us to figure this thing out. Well, why did he take him from us? Not only from us, from other people who loved him as well. Right. So the best thing, the advice will be just first they have to seek God, and know that Christ is in their life. And then once you do that, you go, if you find a church and you like it, and just don't let people push you into, as soon as you get in the church, they want to push you into, get on the usher board, get on the choir. First, see what God tells you where you need it at in that church, But always, if you ain't even in a church, you can do church at home. You can read your Bible. You can listen to some songs. Have it in your heart.
But y'all know, honestly, it's not the same. To me, I've been watching it for a whole year. And I lay down and I fall asleep and I wake back up. I pass the Bible. Can you hear me? I'm like, yeah. I mean, but you see what I'm saying? And I just try to make sure I focus.
It's not because you lose that fellowship with the others,
But right now, what we're going through, for the past year, we've been going through the pandemic, and I'm like, I am anxious to get back in the church doors, But they need to really seek God and know that God, what He wants them to do and where He wants them to be. And when you get there, then He'll direct you in the area that you need to work in the church. So,
okay, so we're dealing from a millennial perspective, say for instance, and I'm in the church, but Daddy, I want to go to the movies with my friends. Or Daddy, I saw this guy that's playing basketball. And he asked me on a date. And Dad, I don't want to sneak. But I do want to go. You know what I'm saying? His parents going to drop us off. His parents going to pick us up. Daddy, I want to go. Have you guys had those conversations? I'm not even gonna say a millennial because we're going even younger than a millennial. But I just think like the pastors, for me, I would have think that I don't want worldly kids, but I do want them to have a regular life so that I've taught them. And so they should know how to go into the world and to make a choice.
You have to allow a certain expectation or limit where the child can get out. You have to allow them to experience something out there. Now, whether you set time limits, hey, I'm going to let you go, but you have to be back here.
Yeah, that was my
at 11 o'clock, not 11:01, 11 o'clock. because the thing in my case, I was told no a lot. So when I did get those opportunities, I took it a little further than
Was you in the hood? Was you going in the hood?
Was I going in the hood?
Yeah.
A deep East Oakland, let me tell you.
I just want to know where you was hanging out at. I just want to know.
And, so I think that's what happens with being sheltered. So then when you get that opportunity to get out,
go crazy.
then you just go buck wild, and you have a lot of influences. But what I will say is that because I was brought up in the church, and when I did go in those areas that I wasn't supposed to be in, and the things that I witnessed, a lot of drugs, even back then, I was afraid to indulge because of my conscience, because I knew, and it was told to me, God sees all. He see you even when your parents don't. He see you what you're doing over here. So I would limit my interactions with what was going on around me, but I was there. So I learned a lot, I saw a lot, and I'm grateful that I had the mind to say no. Now I'm not gonna say I didn't smoke weed back in the day, because yes, I did. I smoked some weed back then, but when it got into the taking mescaline and pill popping, and that was like no. So, but you have to allow your child some rope to get out there and experience life, because our life is not their life. We don't know what God's plan is for their life. We are still there to be to lead them and to train them and to direct them and to tell them right from wrong. But they have to experience life for themselves.
I have some pastor friends who have small children. I really admire them, because I know when I was growing up, and for the record, my church we live stream, and so I go in like a couple of Sundays on my time, a couple of Saturdays to tape. But before, when it hit really hard in California, we couldn't even go to the sanctuary because they just shut it down. It was like it was outside for a couple of months. And they did a production on Christmas, and I just was at home and I just cried, just missing that companionship and that fellowship. And my pastor and some of my other pastor friends, I really admire them because they have young children. And when I was coming up, you did nothing on a Sunday but go to church. I mean, you better not ask to go to the movies, to the mall, to your friend house. We going home, we going to have dinner. And we gonna watch whatever came on
Sunday's Best.
But
what was the one that man had?
I don't know what it was back then.
Remember they had that man? It was a man.
But my
Jim
point
Jones.
is that now,
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones. Jim Jones. I'm like, I went out. He went Bobby Jim Jones.
Oh Lord, no, not him.
But nowadays, I know some pastors who will actually take off and go do stuff with their children, like if their son has a game or something. It's like you ain't going to hell because you gonna miss a service,
Right?
And so that was very different 20, 30 years ago.
It's
like no, you cannot miss a Sunday. I couldn't even hardly work on a Sunday, but I was like, I want time and a half, Daddy. I'm gonna have to go after church, but I'm gonna have to work. And so I think that's what we need to reach our young people now is to be involved in their lives, and to be able to allow them to come no matter what it is that they've done, because they are children just like a regular member's child. You're still my child.
And then there's so much influence. Because you can have them at the church, but they not really be in the church.
No.
Because they got the social media, they sit back here, showing their body parts. It's just so much out there. So yes, you with them, but are you with them? And so
it's also super scary now. It's back when we were coming up and veering out there, it was not like it is out there
scary,
now.
though.
It's really scary now.
I want to add to that though, because you asked the question about what advice would you give the PK?
Thank you.
And so I wanted to kind of piggyback on that. And first of all, if you, because I do know like some young kids that are, they're pretty young, and I just feel like, your parents, you owe them respect. You can try and, tell them how you feel. what have you. But if there's someone else that maybe could, stand in the gap for you, to your parents, that's also an option. But I think the parishioners, that they have so much power over the leader, that if you see your pastor is not taking up time with his family, he's missing out on things to be at the church. Encourage him or her to be with your brother pastor. You know what? We're going to take care of this meeting. We heard that your son got a game. You need to go to that game. Encourage them, because they may not have that. They may not be strong enough to do that. So it's like, as the parishioners, we need to take some, we need to take some responsibilities for our leaders. Take your family on a vacation. Your pastor ain't been on no vacation.
But you know what we do? So if Pastor Bob, so we walk in the church.
He ain't there, we mad.
We be, or some, my nephew, if Pastor Bob ain't there, he walk out. He be like, "Oh, Pastor not here, I'm leaving."
Yeah,
and so they put that out there. But like you said, we need to be responsible to support them in their, because they got to raise their family, and they can't get so caught up on the church that their family are being abandoned,
neglected,
which is not fair.
I have a real appreciation, because I've been a member of several churches since my dad started pastoring, and Cornerstone, Oakland, and Emmanuel, and it's like I have been my pastor's biggest supporter, because I know what that means. And somebody said something earlier, and it made me think. It's like I can't go nowhere where people ain't you remember ain't you and it's like you can't be out there in them streets
just doing anything, because
we're doing a hustle. You be doing electric slide. We doing electric slide. You get caught up.
We lost our identity, because
the pastor is happy with his family, because the church that my husband plays for now in San Francisco. The way the pastor interacts with his family, he love his kids. He go to his son's game. His son is into music. He take him to the NAMM show, and Los Angeles daughter is involved in something. They're at her events, and that warms my heart, because why? Because when we need to be off,
he understands.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask everybody that's watching, whether you're watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, to like and subscribe, and then to also share, because I think this is some important information that we need to get out, and not just for preachers' kids, but just the love of God, and how, we got to love God. In order for us to progress, we can't just love the people in the church. We got to start off with loving God, because it'll be a genuine love. Because you can say, "I love you" all day long, and then it's not a genuine type of thing. do you guys mind if I read some of the comments?
Yeah.
So Tequila said, "Hey ladies, Frederica, Monica." Quinta says, "Hey April." That's her voice. Auntie August said hello again. Hey Pam. We got a lot of smiley faces. Auntie August said sing. Tori said facts. Auntie August says Mount Carmel is doing good. Hello ladies from Doris. Yvonne says there's purpose in your pain. So whatever you guys endured, whether having a baby early, there was a purpose in it. To God's glory. Sonia said hello. She said yep. I don't know if she was saying yep to. We behind on our catching our stuff. But Tori said you're talking to us. So glad, Tori, that something's going to be able to stick to you, and make sure once you learn the lesson that you be able to share it as well. She said, say it louder for the people in the back. Greta says domestic violence. We can touch on that, because I'm not really sure where she's coming from. Greta, tell me what you're specifically talking about as far as domestic violence. They said my girl April. So you've been shouting out everybody, all your church people on here. Cora Cook, Mama said, they said thank you for sharing. She said, oh my God. So Tori feeling this whole conversation. Cousin Trina is on here. Hey cousin. That's where it began at home, in church, is the upbringing. Same here. So I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity to call 510. If you're gonna ask these ladies, we're gonna continue the conversation, but I'm gonna let you guys call 510-750-3451. We're gonna be respectful to my panel, because we know where y'all live at. 510-750-3451. Church girls, they you see, they said they hang in the hood too, y'all. So don't come in here with no mess.
Let me tell you something that pastors' daughters, and really church girls, also experience. Have you all experienced that, like, every pastor you're friends with, you gotta be fooling with them.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Every pastor, you just platonic friends, but we couldn't even talk. Like if you even like, say for instance, if you have a guest pastor at the church, and then it's kind of traditional to go up to the after church to go meet the pastor, go to the
Go greet. You just
shake
but
hands.
how long did you hold his hand though?
We shake hands.
How long did you hold it?
I wouldn't even go to the altar and shake the pastor's hand because I don't want nobody to be thinking I'm doing. I mean, have you experienced that? I couldn't be friends with pastors without them.
My whole thing is, when your father's a pastor, all the pastors.
Yeah, you know them all. Right.
And so it would be rude for me if I went to a church and, they see me in the audience
Yeah,
and I
not
just go
acknowledge
out
right.
and not go up and say hello. And then people who, because, I don't walk around and say, oh, I'm Derek Hall's sister or I'm Reverend Hall's daughter. I don't walk around and do that because I have an identity.
Right.
And so
You have your
people
own.
don't know my story. So people who don't know, they're like, oh, why she all up in his face? Really?
They do that.
They do
People
that.
have said that and it's gotten
Yes,
back to
they
me because
do.
they don't, because see, that's another thing. Sometimes people got to be careful who they're talking about.
Mhm.
Yes, they do.
They know you, it will get back
It
to
will
you.
come
And
back.
so just because, people that, a lot of people don't know me and Michelle Cousin, how close we are. They don't know how mom, me and Sam been. They don't know how we are. They don't know. But they might come and be saying something. You be like, really?
Mhm.
Do you know that that's my girl?
Thank you.
So because you said it, right? You brought the subject up, man.
So, well, let me set the record straight.
I'm just saying, you know
For
what?
those of you feel like Michelle only dates preachers, that's a lie. I've dated more men out of the church than in the church. Please believe that.
Whether because you didn't want your daddy and them to know, so that means that's why you went.
No, it's just that preachers. I mean, I wanted to be with who I wanted to be with, and it wasn't no preacher.
I wasn't looking for a preacher.
And then you was a DB's
Actually, I met my husband, my first husband that I married, but he was not a preacher when we dated, when we got married, any of that. He became a preacher after we were married. So I not only had the responsibility of being a pastor's daughter, but now my first husband was a preacher, and just puts you in a whole different category.
It sure does.
And for the church girls, and for the you finished.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say,
Okay.
in terms of piggybacking off of Michelle, my experience with pastors and preachers were more of them reaching out because social media was available during some of this time. And this is my older, and getting the inbox messages and things like that.
What you mean? People was inboxing you?
Oh, yes.
To try to
Preachers.
preachers, they was trying to take you down.
Preachers.
Take her out.
Take her down, take her out.
That could be because you have those tendencies. Because as PKs, we have first lady tendencies because
Right.
that's what we grew up under. and
But
they're
some of these
pastors.
preachers already have first ladies.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Open up.
Lord God. Okay.
That's another
She
podcast.
But
Thank you. Look, thank you. No, but you know what? But that just shows
But-
they're men.
they're men.
They're men.
Nobody is perfect but God. Nobody.
Lord.
The Lord.
Frederica
That's
said,
it.
"Oh my."
I think we should sing now.
Look, Kira said, "I'm just gonna sip my tea."
No, but let me tell you, we were raised and grown
Rhonda
not to.
said we.
We were raised and grown not to bad mouth the pastor.
Yeah,
No,
right.
we didn't.
So let me just tell you, it ain't no sipping. We ain't got to sip tea, but all you got to do is watch Larry Reed live. I mean, he be exposing all the preachers.
Oh my God.
Y'all
Man,
can't
it's
do nothing.
crazy.
So listen, y'all can't do nothing. So you should stop
Just
Okay?
don't do it. Just don't do
because
it.
they after you, and they go watch everything you do, especially if you're a national preacher. Eyes are on you. Okay? So you should kind of calm down, lay low, and stop the foolery. But the thing about it is, I'm a church girl who just feel like they want to be with a pastor. Honey, I love my daddy. My daddy is my best friend. He's 88 years old. I love him. I'm a daddy's girl to the bone, to the T. I love my daddy. He's a good man. But he different from what you see in the pulpit than at home. Like, for instance, my dad is very, he's very congenial in the pulpit. He is very engaging in the pulpit. But sometimes at home, he would just kind of like be to himself or, and whatever. That's just, but he's also engaging at home. He was a great father and husband. But I'm just saying, what you see in that pulpit is not what you go experience in a relationship, okay? So take the rose-colored glasses off because they're not the same. It's almost like two personalities. To be honest with you.
So Rhonda said she throwing up to the pastor's wife that he got a wife. Sonia said, I've been approached by pastors and deacons. My church hurt is deception and prophetic. So that's one. That's deception.
Because you having expectations when you're dealing with pastors and deacons that they are just that they on the up and up and they're not going to do anything shady and then if they do, then you're just so disappointed. But here's the thing. Focus on the message, not the messenger. Not the messenger, because the messenger has flaws and the messenger is flesh and the messenger is not perfect. So what I try to do when I hear preaching, I eat the meat and throw out the bones. Okay? Which means I focus on the message, and I may know what the person, what his life is outside of the pulpit. I don't even focus on that. You know what I'm saying? So just know if you're attractive and one of them come up to you, it's up to you to just be like, I'm good. You don't have to judge them like, Pastor, what you doing? I'm not interested. And move on. You know what I'm saying?
So when you're approached by a deacon, a pastor,
or a man of God,
and you're in the church, how do you handle that? Because me myself, they just say, "Hey, good sister." That's all I get. So that's all I get.
No, they ain't all like.
But I'm just saying that what they may be looking, but they've never said anything that I found that was disrespectful. Or nobody didn't look at me. Well, maybe that's because I be trying to tell my husband that nobody be trying to talk to me. He's like, if they talk to you too long, they trying to talk to you. They want to know about football. They talking to you too long. So he's making me aware of, because I have a conversation with a man for like an hour
because he's a man
about football or me working out. And he'd be like, but they don't really want to know that. They don't really want to know what you working out and how you working out. They don't it's just to see how far you're gonna go with that conversation. So
you just don't engage in it. So you just can't engage in it. It's all about the respect that you have for yourself. And it's the respect that I had for my father as well. And I tell you, there is absolutely nothing that I would do even now to disrespect my father
and his legacy.
Absolutely. And so there's some that's all they want is to get with a preacher, a pastor, or whatever. But you have to draw the line because they come at you. If you bite,
what would be funny?
Well, so I'm a choir director, so I got one leg, I'll be there, the pulpit be right
So when you start doing this, doing a choir like this.
Here's the thing, I want to go back to what she said. excited about being your authentic self and know who you are and respect yourself, respect where you came from, your dad's legacy. I can truly say that I do have many pastors friends because they talk, they meet, they talk, they go in that study, they had a meet, they be talking. I have heard on several occasions where my name has come up, but guess what? They said, but she don't get down like
She don't get down.
And I'm like, thank you,
right.
Jesus.
Yes.
I'm glad that that's the word, because the other word could be like,
Exactly.
But the word is, she don't get down like that. And so I would rather have them say that about me than, yeah, go for that.
Right.
So be true to yourself.
And so, and that's what Miss McGee just said. She said they know who they can approach and who they can't. And that's why I said I don't get no play. I don't get no nobody. I'm just saying I just don't get no play whatsoever. So
fun. Okay, you asked the question. What's the fun?
What's the fun? Yeah, what's the fun in dating?
I don't even know if it's about if the woman really wants fun. She may
the status.
She may want the status of being first lady.
Yeah, I don't want that.
She may want, she may feel that, Let me tell you something about a pastor.
You put your elbow on the table.
Let me tell you about a pastor preacher. When you are there on Sunday, what you see is somebody, if he's a really good speaker and very passionate about saving souls, what you see are soul ties. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's speaking to you, to your spirit. And a lot of church girls convolute their spirit with the flesh and see somebody like in their own little four walls, like bigger than life. You know what I'm saying? And they just want to be with that person who, because it's the line of demarcation of being fed, your spirit fed, and then your flesh, and then if you're good looking, you're kind of looking like, you know what I'm saying? Right. But don't get it confused. I come from 4-5 generations of pastors. Right. Being a first lady is not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not. And because you're dealing with him, you're dealing with the church, you're dealing with church issues. My mother funded what people don't know, and let me get this real straight right now. Okay. When my daddy started Victory, my daddy didn't start Victory with his money. My daddy started Victory with my mama's money. You know what I'm saying? So my mother sacrificed my mother invested in Victory. You know what I'm saying? For my dad to start a church over 30 years ago.
Because she believed in her husband.
She believed in her husband. You know what I'm saying? If you not gonna try to be that kind of person in support of in support of him and his dreams and his vision, and another thing, if you ain't friendly,
she's trying to get good call, girl.
If you ain't friendly to the people, they're gonna stop giving y'all love offerings, okay? Because I know plenty of people that would be like, his wife ain't friendly. I'm keeping my love offering to myself because his wife won't speak to me. I speak to her and she turn her head. So he'll get my tithes, but I ain't sending no offering. I ain't giving no love offering. Very true. It's a lot you have to deal with.
It's so very.
It's almost being a first lady is being a first lady. And if you're not ready to be tackle and engage in that membership, help your husband grow it, and don't shame him, in public or just whatever, be quiet when you gotta be quiet. Don't say amen when you gotta say amen.
Talk about these ladies first lady.
Because my mother was the epitome of a first lady. I mean, that's why I learned it, because all my pastor friends, they be like, "Oh, you got first lady tendencies." I'm like, because I was raised by one. And so I can't help it. My commitment to the church, that's how I carry me, how I dress. Y'all say I'm a diva, but I get it honestly. You knew my mama. And I got it honestly. And it's just certain things that you, like the protocol or, the church stuff that you do, that you just learn that. And I'm glad that at my church now, I can go to church like this and I'll be cool. 30 years ago.
Because it's from your heart.
Let's talk about the first ladies. They had to endure a lot. And my mom, she respected my dad, lifted him up. And every time she said, Because Willie Joe says, everything.
It came from your daddy. Okay.
Because, Reverend Hall, everything, she always referenced him and fixed his food and took it to him and just really catered to him because he catered to the people. He took care of the people and she took care of him. And so I really honor her for that.
Yeah.
And this was not a thing that I desire for myself. Now, if the Lord sent me a pastor, preacher, or something, I'd be questioning him, be like, are you sure? Because that wasn't my desire, just because I just saw the road that because it's a hard road.
Yeah.
If don't nobody else go to church, y'all do.
Right.
Exactly.
And if don't nobody shout, that first lady better shout. Because they looking at her. Honey, they don't know if you and your husband having problems.
Right.
Does she be on a pivot like this?
They know the body language. Let me tell you.
They look at body language and all of that. You are on display.
So we have a couple more questions that I kind of want to go through. So we only got a couple more minutes. But what do you guys have any one of you ever thought about getting in the pulpit, becoming a pastor?
Absolutely.
And then how what's the feeling about that? Because I hear like a lot of pastors, especially the older pastors, they don't believe in it. But I'm seeing more. Why are you looking at me like that?
No, because I have a story that I'll tell you.
Okay, you can I get the question out? Dang. Never mind. I want to ask the question. Go ahead, April. Forget it. Forget about it.
Because I grew up in a church where, not my dad's church, but where women pastors were not accepted, but the church where I go to now, they are. But to me, it's not a salvational issue. And so, but the funny story is that one of the ministers at our church, she lives in I ain't gonna say Oprah home, but a senior,
a resident.
Yeah,
a residence
so they have Bible study, and so she asked me to do Bible study for the residents. And this particular time, I mean, they cooked me some. They said, "What you want, Sister April?" I said, "I want some Mexican food." So everybody came. It was full. She said, "We ain't never had this many people at Bible study before." And so this young gentleman, he had to be about 80.
He was trying to get with you.
Oh, girl. So he said, "Are you a preacher?" I said, "Well, no." I said, "I'm a teacher, but we're all preachers. I'm trying to keep it spiritual and stuff." And he started reading on my finger because I was married at the time. He said, "Is that serious?"
Ooh, wow. He was trying to take you down to residence.
But it was just, when you're around the word and you love the word of God and you're excited about, because I was really excited. I taught about the attributes of God. And when you talk about God, you just get excited.
Right.
You can't help it. You can't help it. And so, but I just thought that was funny that he would say, "Are you a preacher?" And I was in Ross the other day, and this lady asked me if I was an evangelist. I said,
because you know what? Because you got the glow, you got the light.
What do I have on me, Jesus?
And you know what? And you probably share everywhere you go.
I probably
Yeah.
And whether you have that title or not, you are a giving person. Your spirit speaks for itself. And if there's a dark room, when April walk in, that light is like, it is regardless of what you got on. But I'm just saying, and ever since when I first, I was telling them how I first met April, we met at the kids football practice, and we were doing mom's football. And April, I'm just like, who is this lady think she's gonna play football? With the long nails and the rings and stuff. I was like, I'm out there with that black tape under my eye and my cleats on, and she's like, throw it to me, I'm a kid. I was like, I'm not gonna play with this lady. But it was something about her that we kind of instantly clicked. And it was nothing but the word of God. It wasn't nothing but the Holy Spirit. And from that point on, we've been respectful friends. Our kids grew up together. So that light that you have on, you don't have a title of being a first lady or anything like that, but you definitely got God over you. He's shining on you. He's blessing you throughout the trials and tribulations. So I want to applaud you on through all the stuff that you've gone through and the kids and just everything that I've seen you go through in our lifetime, the time that I've known you. I want to applaud you for still standing tall and still representing God in everything that you do. But you ever desire to be in the pulpit? Never ever. But you sing though, right?
Never.
I think we
all y'all all sing. Oh man, okay. So hold on, y'all. I'm gonna try to get. Y'all want to hear them sing? Wait a minute. Can I sing with y'all too?
Yeah.
Can I sing with y'all too? Okay, so we gonna sing. Hold on. I'm gonna read some of this. So Wabez says, great session. Thank you, Sonia. She said April was exactly the same at Castlemont. Sonia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Redeaux. Awesome conversation, ladies. Thanks for sharing. Great job, panel. Thank you, Trey Burks from my church, Actual Gospel Church of God in Christ. Yay, praise God for my pastor, Bob Jackson.
My pastor too.
Okay.
My pastor,
And Lady Barbara.
L. Cobbs Jr.
Lady Barbara. We're going to get through this shout-out stuff going on.
My
But you know what?
Marty Ray Peters.
That's your,
Victory.
is that your
My
brother?
brother.
That's your baby brother. That's your baby brother.
He is.
But you know what? It's just amazing that, you know, we have a fellowship of church girls, and it's a respectful place to be. And that, like, even in our boot camp, you know, I'm not the best person to pray because I kind of stumble, but I know what I want to. I just have a conversation with God, and we have like 4 ladies, and they on fire. And whenever somebody's, you know, if I could be cleaning up, and then she'll pick the prayer, and when she not ready, then we got Heather, then we got Miss Crosby, Nicole. It's just like we have to support each other.
Yes.
But when you see me out of place or out of pocket, there's a way you can tell me that in a respectful manner, without judgment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think as women and as people of God, there's a place that we supposed to. You know, you can't see me acting a fool and I'm calling you see what I'm putting out on Facebook. I'm supposed to be this older, mature lady, you know, and I'm out in the middle of the street fighting, or you know what I'm saying? I would expect my sisters to check me, but in a respectful way.
But that's what we try. I have 6 nieces, and one is a preacher, and she sure enough is a preacher. She's 21 years old. She's getting a lot of exposure. She's being shepherded by her mentor is Jackie Thompson, who's the pastor of Allen Temple. And you know, and then I got another niece who can shout the church down, that can sing, Marissa. But Marissa is more of a free spirit type of person, to put it nicely. She different. You know, she free spirited. So, you know, and so what I always try to tell Marissa, and I try to tell her, you know, just don't embarrass your dad. That is what I was taught to do. You know what?
But see, what about her though? But you know what? The thing about her. Well, what the thing about it? It's not.
You just said about fighting.
But I'm saying when you say embarrassment of her dad, which means the reason why she's doing certain things because she's dealing with something, right?
Absolutely.
And so we don't get. It's not even about her daddy at this point. It's about her. And so before we can talk about her daddy, we got to find out what's going on with her. Why is she like that? Why was Sam, you know, acting a fool in the street? There is a reason for it. And so for us to say, don't embarrass your daddy. I mean, and I'm going to give you a chance, hold on, to tell her don't embarrass her daddy. There's something about her that we need to find out what's going on. I don't know, Sister Doris, what you shaking your head. Come on.
No, I was disagreeing because that's part of the challenge with getting the millennials. Is because they, you know, they don't do things the traditional way. And some of the tradition, it needs to be challenged. I'm sorry. It needs to be challenged. It needs to be thrown out the window, and we need to start over because we've been doing the same stuff over and over, expecting different results and wondering why our churches aren't growing. Wondering why,
but the method needs to change.
And I totally agree. And you all may not agree with me. And that's fine.
No, it's not that we don't.
We all should have different. All church girls don't think alike.
No,
all pastors' daughters don't think alike. But this is the only thing I'm saying, and I'm strictly talking about pastors' daughters. That's it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever the other millennials do, okay. I'm not a youth director no more. So God bless you. I'm talking about me and mine. You may not think about this, and you may say, no, Michelle, you're wrong. But I truly believe as a pastor's daughter, you have a responsibility and an accountability.
I believe that.
Period.
as my daughter.
Yes.
And I'm not a pastor.
Right.
But I do have expectations for my daughter not to be doing the fool because that's our name.
That represents you.
My
Right. Right.
It's hard to get a good reputation.
Yes.
It is. It's
the
hard.
slightest little thing that
But-
can kill it.
Let me just
Go ahead, Mama.
dump a little water on this.
Go on,
Because
girl.
A lot of
Water.
times, like you said, when you see certain things, because I know of other pastor kids, their home life is miserable. Their life is miserable because of the way daddy acts when he gets home. And a lot of times, and a lot of parishioners, they know it. Because I like, there's a situation where I've heard some things that went on, and it's like the church knows that this is going on, but yet they're able to still stand in the pulpit, like the person mentioned domestic violence. Okay, people know stuff be going on, but because of the attitude, you don't embarrass. And I'm not coming for you like that. I was just more so. I'm just
Come for me, Dodo.
No. I'm just saying because we don't.
She did one of these.
We don't want to challenge them. We don't want to make them look bad. We don't want to bring negative whatever on them. Then they get to operate and not so good behavior at home. And people with domestic violence, kids are being abused.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to say anything.
Nobody wants to
And
address.
the deacon know it, chairman know it. He didn't went into the house sometimes and did certain things. And so it's kind of like we have to, that's what I was saying earlier, the parishioners that are in the church that see these things, we have to not be afraid and try and, stand up and say something. If we see something that's not right, we need to be able to say something and get, help. Because some pastor families, they need help. They need some wives, they need support. You talk about, what they go through. Some of them need help. They've been abused, and I mean, you'd be surprised.
Oh no, I'm not surprised.
true.
You are absolutely true. But
That's
here's
very
the thing about church people. We keep a lot of stuff to ourselves.
ourselves.
We don't
Yeah.
tell our business. We were just like kind of taught to just, you got to deal
Just
with it
deal
at
with
home.
it.
Like
But
Aretha
that-
Franklin,
but-
like we
And I
see
haven't
Genius
watched
Aretha
it.
Franklin.
But
Oh
see,
my God.
that deals with that pain.
Yeah.
Yes.
That comes out, and then it'll come out to anger. Pastor Bob is
Yes.
doing a series about that.
Yes.
You experience hurt,
Mhm.
then it becomes that pain. Then you come out and you're angry. So you wonder why them kids is outside doing XYZ, or
It's because
like you
it
said,
wasn't
she's
dealt
spirited. There's a reason for it. It could be that high expectation, or I can't really talk because y'all expect me to be this perfect person, and I'm not. None of us are perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's just. We're gonna have to, y'all. We're running. Yeah, somebody said we're gonna
Church
now
Girls
because we
Part 2.
look. The thing about it is, I didn't even get through all my notes.
I know.
I made notes. And look, because it was you, April. It was April fault. Nicole said we got to deal with a part 2. So Nicole, we're gonna have you on the next one. We're gonna have to get a bigger TV or something. We're gonna have to go high just because I think more people. We're gonna get a bigger table. Okay. My boss over here said we need a bigger table, but I appreciate this conversation. I really do, because I just got to see you guys are, and I know most of you guys, so I know that you guys are regular people, but I don't know what goes on in the back of the building. I only know what goes on in the front, and sometimes I don't want to know what goes on in the back.
Absolutely.
Because it may make me leave. And I want to keep, my peace in my church and in my home and in my heart. I want to keep that. So a lot of stuff I don't want to know what goes on in the back. Like some recipes, you don't know what you don't want to know what's going in that pot. Just know it tastes good.
Tastes good.
Right.
I don't want to know. I don't want to see what you're putting in there. I might not want what you're putting in there. But this is great.
Because people don't know what you went through to get. They don't know your story.
They don't know your
They
story.
know the
just say,
glory,
"Oh, y'all,"
not
just
the
like what
story.
you
That's
said,
right.
You said, "Oh, you guys are treated like royalty," and all that.
And we
Girl,
spoiled.
And you spoiled.
But we are spoiled.
But when she said it's a lonely place
It is.
Yeah.
a long
and she
way.
felt isolated,
Yeah.
now it's not like you said, it's not the royalty that I thought about.
No,
Right.
no.
And that's probably why that prince left because his wife felt like she was lonely.
Right.
And so he loved his wife that much. Like,
That's
man,
right.
baby, I'm gone.
Thank you. That's
I'm
good.
riding
That's
with
the
you.
man.
What a real man should do.
Okay,
That's a real man.
y'all
Yes.
give it up for Prince Henry.
Harry. Harry.
No. Actually, his real name is Henry.
Okay, well,
Oh,
okay, thank you, girl.
Well, Henry.
See, she's so smart. Where the music at, y'all? Hold on, we gonna let them sing.
But it knows in Concord.
So you're in the
It
wrong
might be.
Wi-Fi.
Is it the
You
seafood
on
bar?
somebody else's
I
Wi-Fi.
think so. It's like a
Use other network.
Yeah, a seafood bar.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Go out of that.
because I'm
They
out here. I'm
open to
getting.
sit.
Yeah. Let me show you the food.
You're
Let me
in the
show
wrong
you.
one.
Let me
Yeah,
show you the
because
food.
I have- I
Okay,
be-
we back.
So-
And we're back.
Okay.
And we're back.
You're on the Bluetooth.
And we're back.
Not over. Mhm. Hey, y'all. Did y'all miss us? You know how they bring that song back? They were at the church and they stop and everybody's. You don't know that?
Let's give a shout out to Samantha's her beautiful hat that she wore.
And thank you for being a wonderful host.
Yes,
Yes.
such a church girl.
I am. Yeah, all the time.
You just got to do a little bit of this. Okay.
Okay. We gotta sing in the mass.
Take your mask off. Take your mask off, girl. Y'all, Holy Spirit, here.
I am
Tested already.
fully vaccinated.
Are we gonna rock? Are we gonna?
I'm soprano.
She's soprano. I'm gonna sing.
April, tell this is so impromptu. Wait, hold on. Lord, I will lift mine eyes to the hills, knowing my help is coming from you. Y'all sound pretty.
Yes.
Oh, please you give me in time of the storm.
Come on, ladies.
You are the source of my strength. Come on, tenor. You lost it. You are clap now?
Yeah. Come on.
Lord, I will lift mine eyes to the hills, knowing my help is coming from you.
Come on, ladies.
Okay,
Let's go.
Peace you give me
Come on.
in time of the storm.
Come on.
You
Give me that last. Come on. Come on, give me some air. Come on.
You are the strength of my life. I lift my hands in total praise to you. We turning it off now, cause thank you.
Hallelujah.
That song is
We tried.
We tried.
And it was tender.
No, I was singing to y'all. Y'all didn't hear me at the Look, ladies, gentlemen, the audience, we appreciate y'all. We do. We love and appreciate y'all. And don't let your bad experience stop you from going to church.
That's right.
And don't look to the people at the church to be your savior.
That's right.
Your savior is with God. He will never ever let you down. And the moment we start depending on people to save us, that's where the problem gonna come in at. So if you're dealing with the church hurt, pray about it, talk to somebody about it,
That's right.
and get your butt back in the church, get back into God's word. His word has never changed. The way we're gonna deliver it's gonna change, but his word is faithful and it's true. And we need the church. We need to get the Christians back out in the street to get the people back into the church. Because church is open. Church is back open. And so y'all can hear all this lovely music. I can't wait to go back to church. I ain't gonna do like that at church, but Easter Sunday, the Spirit gonna be there. And we did get you guys a gift. My husband went. He makes sure you guys get flowers. He was like, how many I gotta go get? Yes. So, like, if you guys are not subscribed to our page, go to the YouTube, Samantha Wise.
Thank you, Mr. Wise.
And
subscribe. Gentleman.
Yeah, he's a nice man.
Yes, he is.
He ain't no pastor, but he be preaching. So we appreciate you guys. You guys have a wonderful evening. Good night. God bless you all. God bless you. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.